Welcome to episode number 61 of the Create Your Vibrant Life podcast. This is your host, Padma Ali. If you've been following this podcast for a while, you know that I'm very selective about guests I bring in because I want this to be of complete value to you. So I'm selective in who I have on this podcast because everything that I'm providing here is meant for transformation, for inspiration, and for to motivate you to create your vibrant life, create the life you desire. In today's episode, the title is Chaos to Calm. And I have invited this amazing guest, AnnMarie Espina, here as to share her wisdom as an ADHD coach. So I'm going to let you hear what she does from her own words. But one of the reasons I wanted her to share her thoughts and her wisdom here is because so many people, I personally don't believe in labels. Labels just don't work for me. And I've seen that it boxes people. But we as humans have myriad of experiences, and there may be some of you listeners who may really relate to her, even if you don't have a diagnosis of ADHD. I personally could relate to her, even though I don't have a diagnosis. I don't think that's not what I see myself as. But there were lots of aspects of what she was talking about that really resonated with me. So I wanted to bring that wisdom to you all. So here we go. And as always, I'm so grateful to you for being a part of this experience, for this journey. And I would so appreciate you sharing this podcast to anyone who might feel inspired by listening to her story. And then also to leave a review on iTunes. If you have found value, chances are other people would as well. And so I really appreciate you promoting this as a way to help humanity. And that's what I'm here for. And thank you again. So without any further ado, here we go.
Hello, visionaries. Welcome to Create Your Vibrant Life podcast, where you can create the life you desire by tapping into your inner wisdom. I'm your host, Padma Ali. I'm widely known in the field of psychology to create long-lasting transformation. And now I'm here to help you create the life you desire using a combination of neuropsychology and ancient healing practices. This podcast is for you, evolved, overachieving leader who's ready to unlock your highest potential. I'm here to guide you through a process of self-discovery to be the creator of your destiny. And you can do all of that by just taking aligned actions, tapping into the power of your brain, your inner wisdom, and ancient practices. So stay tuned, folks. I am so delighted you are here. Welcome to the Create Your Vibrant Life podcast. We have an amazing guest today, AnnMarie Espina. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, AnnMarie. I didn't even ask you before we started.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Great. So AnnMarie has some amazing wisdom and knowledge she's going to share today. So I'm going to start with you, AnnMarie. Tell us more about you and what you do and your dharma in the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Padma. I am so excited about this and I love the work that you're doing. So it's nice to connect with other like-minded people. So my name is AnnMarie. I am an ADHD coach for entrepreneurs. And my passion came with that because I was diagnosed with ADHD from a really young age. And I really, really struggled with it and held a lot of shame from, basically when I was diagnosed until just a few years ago is when I kind of released all of it. And I saw there was such a need to help so many other people work through and get to a place where they're feeling really good about themselves and feeling empowered and feeling like, their ADHD is a gift or something that can really propel them forward in life. So That's kind of how I got into the space. And I am so obsessed with business. And I think business is a fantastic space for people with ADHD and just allowing you to live the life that you've always wanted to live. And it has been such a beautiful journey for me. And so that's why I came into this space. So, yeah, that's who I am. And that's what I do.
That's so tell us more about how you made that shift, because it sounds like something helped you go from your diagnosis to like then making it a gift for yourself and the people you serve.
Totally. Yeah. When I was in school and I was learning, I had to in grade, starting at grade 7 or something, I had to go into like special math classes and special English classes because my comprehension was at a different level. And so, I went to the psychology, to go get like a full psychological assessment, which was a full day. I had to leave school. And so right from kind of that point, I made that mean about me that I wasn't worthy or I wasn't smart or, all those things. So they were kind of stories that I had created for myself and attached myself to those for a really long time. And then kind of as I grew older, I think throughout that time in my life when I was younger as well, I grew this armor onto myself. Like, I'll show you, I can do it without you. I am smart, So I had that kind of little spunky attitude about myself for a long time. And then, when I kind of finished that and I started working, I really wanted to, I didn't even really think that my ADHD was something that was holding me back. And then I was just like, I need to really better myself and improve myself to get where I'm going. And at the time I was working in the corporate world. And I could see all of these kind of things in the business that I really wanted to change. And I was like, didn't hold back. It was like a company of 500 or 600 people. And I would just go straight to the state manager. I'm like, here's what you need to do with your business. Here's how things you need to add in. Like, I saw so much potential for what could change and I couldn't do it myself. So in that journey actually is where I had to really develop myself. So because I was just like obsessed with personal development. And then, where we met in TCP, is when things really kind of started to shift and I could realize that I could write whatever story I wanted for myself and I could decide how my life was going to look for me. So then that's kind of when I started pulling apart all the old stories that I had created for myself about I'm scattered, I procrastinate, it's just my ADHD, I just can't run a business because of my ADHD, is when everything kind of started unraveling. So I would say it was a process of like a while, but then I realized, I put on this armor that I could take off now and I didn't need that armor anymore. And I didn't need to prove to anybody that I could do it. So it's kind of in that journey of developing myself that I uncovered what was holding me back.
This is so amazing. I love that you're talking about this, AnnMarie, and I know that it's in the context of ADHD or ADD. At the same time, this worthiness and the stories we create about our lives and about life experiences we have had, like that is just so common amongst everybody. Like we create these stories and then we live our entire life from those stories, right? And you manage to shift that. You manage to go, no, this is not how I want to live, and I'm going to create my own life. And you mentioned a little bit about how the business was always interesting to you, like creating, like you could see the, how to make a business run more smoothly. Like that's what it seems like. So how did you use your ADHD as a gift for running a business? And
and sorry, what?
And entrepreneurs.
Because okay.
A lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I love that question. So at first, when I first started my business, I was working with a business coach and I just came to her. I said, I have no idea what I want to do. Help me. So she actually helped me come up with the idea and the concept. And at that time, there's no coincidence in the universe, right? So at that time, I was going through my own transformation and it just unfolded beautifully in how I ended up getting into my work. But I think one of the biggest gifts with ADHD in, there's so many. How do I choose just one?
You can speak as many as you want.
Okay. So I think
everybody can take something from that, from what you're saying, right? Whether they have a diagnosis or not, like you can really take some of these nuggets.
Yeah, totally. So I think one of them is our ability to see everything, right? So a neurotypical brain, or somebody who doesn't have ADHD, typically their brain will filter out some information that your brain already deems as it's not necessary. So in the ADHD brain, we actually absorb a lot of stuff. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming if you don't know how to manage it. But I think it's such a gift, because I personally think I have like huge intuition, and same with a lot of my clients, is we can see things unfolding before they actually start happening, or you can see the bigger picture, which is quite cool. So yeah, that's one of them. The other one is like when I am focused on something, I can hyper focus. Like I am in the zone and I just get it done really quick. And one of the things that I love about people with ADHD and working with clients who have ADHD is everybody has like literally the biggest heart ever. And it seems a lot of the people I work with are really excited about life and passionate about something. And like when you're passionate about something, it just comes through. Like there's no holding back. So those are a couple of them. And one of the other things that I think is really, really important is not just for people with ADHD, but everybody in general, right? It comes with a level of self-awareness. So for me to manage my ADHD, or even if you have a family with kids or anything like that, it comes with a level of self-awareness, right? Okay, what are my triggers? What sends me off course for the day? What makes me procrastinate? What makes me get really overwhelmed easily? What makes me spiral into this shame spiral of like, a long to-do list or something like that? So self-awareness has been the biggest gift that has come from it, because you have to really know yourself and go inwards. And, you've got a huge family and kids, so I'm pretty sure with self-awareness what triggers you to get overwhelmed and all of that kind of stuff. So I think that is a huge gift also that has come with it.
Wow, this is really helpful. Even though I don't have a diagnosis, like I can really relate to everything you're saying, like the hyper focus, and then like not being able to tune things out, and then also like the awareness like of what is triggering. And it's so universal. I love that. I love that this is so, you've managed to change things. So how are some of the ways you help your clients who have ADHD and who are entrepreneurs? Like, do you have a method that you help them with, or what do you do?
Yeah, so I created a methodology called the Accomplished Mind Method. So it is essentially designed to take somebody from being a made-for-more entrepreneur. So there's somebody who's kind of feeling really disorganized, really frazzled, continually asking themselves, why can't I make this work? What is not clicking for me? Everybody else seems to have it so easy. Somebody who's very scattered, overwhelmed, disorganized, and almost feeling just a little bit unfulfilled and almost unhappy some days. And to help move them to this place where they're feeling like the high achieving CEO, where they say, I'm in alignment. Things are easy for me. I don't have scattered thoughts anymore. And business is easy. Business is fun. My clients find me easily. And someone who just kind of feels like they're in control of their day and feels like they have a really organized system and they can predict what's going to happen in 3 months' time, and they have a plan about what's happening. So I really love helping take people from point A to point B, because I think more often than not, we all have so much passion inside of us and so much magic that is just covered on top of, exactly like you were saying, stories, life that happens, and adulting, when we can start to free ourselves from that. And once you start freeing yourself from that story and those old narratives that you've created for yourself, life is like literally a deep breath. It's like fun again and exciting. And, you get excited and about what's happening in your day, and you're filled with gratitude about the smallest things. So it's really just, it's not necessarily about the business. It's about how you are showing up in your life, how you show up for yourself, and just be happy, you know?
That is so amazing. That's all we're all striving for, right? It's so funny you're talking about like this little shifts, and that even this morning I woke up and I had all these negative thoughts, and I was like, oh my goodness, there we go again. But I was able to shift it. I was like, nope, I declared today is a day of gratitude. I'm going to have gratitude for the smallest of the things, and that's how I'm going to show up in my day. And it's been amazing, just that little shift.
Yeah.
Right. And if we can all live from that place every single day, wow. I mean, yeah, we can go up and down, but knowing that that's the compass you want to come back to over and over again. So powerful.
It's so powerful. And, I think the more that you kind of show gratitude for the tiniest little things. And for me, one of the places that I started experiencing gratitude, because it was almost like I was so detached from it in the past that I didn't actually know how to do it. People were talking about it. I'm like, well, how do you show gratitude? I'd say, okay, I'm grateful, but I didn't know how to get that feeling inside of my body. So one of the ways that I found was really powerful for me was eating. Like, how often do we just inhale our food and you don't even think you don't think twice about where it's come from, right? And so then I started thinking about, I wonder where this salad came from. Where did the lettuce come from? How many people actually had to touch that salad? How many people actually had to organize the trucks that were putting that salad? How many people's hands did that salad or box of salad pass through until I could get onto my table? And then it was like, whoa, that's crazy. And when you really start to think about it, I don't eat meat much, but when you start thinking about all of that, just everything, like how can you not be grateful for having that food on your table and where you bought it from and the person that helped you bring it through the till, and for you to sit there actually enjoying all those ingredients together.
That is goosebumps all over. It is so powerful.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a way that I don't know, it just dawned on me one day, and that's how I really started to get into the moment. So now I look at my food differently. Okay, well, if that's the case with food, what about those trees that I look at every day outside of my window? Yeah, they're a bit naked right now. It's in the spring, but the beauty in just watching them change, and that organism knows how to do that properly. And it's just rooted right there, like when you really start thinking about how things have come together is when you see the magic of life and how we are genuinely all so connected. So I think it's so amazing.
Yeah, you've really moved from the chaos to the calm, and you're helping other people do the same. Incredibly powerful. And that little mindfulness every single day and gratitude. It sounds like that's been one of your vehicles to get to where you are today.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it used to be like, I used to be somebody who was going to work every single day, and I was so exhausted. I was so frustrated. I was thinking and saying to myself, I am working so hard. Like there has to be something more. And I was so unhappy. I had no time for my friends because I just kept saying, nope, I'm working. I had no time for family. My family would call me. I wouldn't even pick up the phone because I was like, I'm too busy working. And I was just literally at that point in my life, so desperate for a change that I would do anything that, came across my plate. I had to get out of my skin almost. It felt like I was running from myself. And then during my journey and my experience that I was like, okay, I don't need to run from myself anymore. I just need to discover who I am and appreciate that. And so that was, how I got out of the chaos.
Discover who I am. That is it.
Yeah.
Not running away from my own self. Like wow. That is how most of us live our life. Like we're constantly running away. And I can totally relate to that. Like I was always running away from my life. And even now, like it's like a conscious thing. Like I'm not going to numb myself or do something because it's too hard around me. Right. Yes. And to stay in it and to be with myself. I love that. It's so powerful. And
Yeah.
I'm curious also, AnnMarie, how did you work with the diagnosis? Like I personally, I kind of there's benefit to diagnosing, right? Like there's benefit to having a diagnosis. I think also about like my illness, it was beneficial for me to have a diagnosis, but the more I got sucked into the diagnosis, it made me feel so helpless. And so I've kind of rebelled against any diagnosis. So I'm curious, like, how did you work with the diagnosis that you've had, that you've been given? Like, it was not even you were out of your choosing, it was kind of like dumped on you and said, okay, this is who you are. Right. And then it sounds like you've somehow managed to not succumb to those labels.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was something that really held a lot of power over me for a lot of my life. And I wasn't even diagnosed once, I was diagnosed 3 times. So I can definitely confirm the fact I have ADHD. But they're not great experiences, because I think when you're sitting down in front of somebody and the diagnosis comes from a perspective of the medical model, which is illness based, designed to find a problem with you, is not, looking back, the most empowering way that I could navigate that. Yes, it was dumped on me from a young age. And then I was diagnosed to go to my other post-secondary universities so that I could get accommodations. The universities wanted to make sure they were investing the money properly. Totally fair. But yeah, once I, started working on myself, and I realized I had the choice, and a lot of, like, what I work with my clients on too is, just because somebody has said something to you and about you, fantastic, you have some answers. Now, literally, do not look at anything online. Don't read any, I'm very, very selective on the books that I read about ADHD and all of that kind of stuff, because I find a lot of it is very disempowering. And I'm just reading one right now called Scattered Minds by Dr. Bagor Mate. And very, very powerful, because he talks about the other influences that come into it. And it's not necessarily genetic, and how our environments play into that. So I always take my clients back to this place of who decided when and where along the lines that ADHD was a bad thing for you, right? And the definition of symptom, I think, is something like an undesirable situation apparent to a patient or something. Don't tell me I have symptoms. Like, there is nothing undesirable about my brain or the way that it operates. So I highly recommend my clients to say, okay, great, you have answers, now put it aside. You don't need to identify with those stories, because I find if you're continuously reading about how you're inconsistent and how you procrastinate and how you get overwhelmed easily, it makes sense why a lot of people feel like that, because you're reading these things that are apparently telling you this is how you are, and you're taking it on and saying, well, this is who I am. So I always say, you get to decide how you're going to live your life. And like, nowhere along the line is someone else going to tell me what I think about myself. So that's a story I remind my clients of all the time. Like, when and where along the lines did someone say it was a bad thing, and what I was going to think about myself. So I always come back to that space. I'm really detached from it now, the medical model, because I think it's keeping a lot of people trapped and keeping people stuck. When it doesn't need to be like that. And a lot of people are kind of suffering from that. So, yeah.
It's so incredible. That is so empowering. I think what you've done for yourself and what you're doing for your clients is very empowering, rather than feeling trapped in a particular label or a diagnosis. When I was very sick, that was the diagnosis, was they basically told me there's no cure. You can't have any kids. Your life is done. And that was what was told to me. And if I had bought into that, I would not be where I am today. Like, so I can really relate in that sense of how the medical model sometimes keeps you trapped. It was very helpful to know, oh, this is what I have, so I can find other answers through other methods.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in my work, eventually, that's kind of the direction that I want to go. Not right now, but How are reports being written? How is information being given to people about a diagnosis, right? Because you can empower somebody and you can very easily take away their power by the way that it is delivered. So, it's not just for people with ADHD, exactly what you were saying as well. So it's allowing yourself to come back home to yourself and saying, how can I choose a more empowering story? How can I feel like I am empowered and I am a powerful person? Because we're all the exact same. We all have the same gifts. It's just whether we look outside of ourselves or if we go back inwards and say, I have the power within me to decide how I'm going to navigate this in a powerful way. So it sounds like you've done that as well.
And I'm thinking about it, also like, when I came into this, I was already an adult. But for children, I have two very young children. I'm just thinking their brains are so like sponges. They're taking in everything I'm telling them or people are telling them. I found my daughter the other day, she's 4, and something didn't work. Like she was trying to fix something and it didn't work. And she says, I am so stupid. And I literally fell off my chair. I was like, no, this is not how we speak to ourselves. And I had a conversation with her. I don't know how much she got it, but she's already picking up. Right. And so just imagine like an authority figure sitting next in front of you and telling you, look, you have this diagnosis. You are overwhelmed. You can't concentrate. You can't focus. I can just imagine like that would be so damaging.
Yeah.
So it's about the delivery too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember reading the report I remember holding it in my hands and thinking, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me, because the way they write it is so like you're a subject, not like a person, like, oh, this subject is in the 43rd percentile and predictably going to struggle in their lives or whatever it is. Like, don't tell me that when I'm, 12 or 13 years old. It's exactly what you're saying. You're so impressionable at that age. So it makes sense why, people have these stories that hang around for so long. Right. And it's any story that you're picking up at any age. If somebody tells you something, it makes sense why we pick it up and why we carry it along with us all these years and over our lives, and why our lives play out those stories.
Yeah. And I love that this is the work you're doing. Now imagine like your clients taking it to the world, and then, they're entrepreneurs, they're going to impact other people. It's going to impact their families. The ripple effect of the work you're doing on this particular topic of ADHD is like so phenomenal. Have you ever thought about that? Like the impact it's going to have?
Yeah. So yes and no. Like I have been really mindful of it lately. Like, my clients will tell me, my relationship is changing with my partner, and I do work with clients who have kids as well. And I know that they show up differently in their relationship. So yeah, I've had people tell me specifically that my relationship has changed. As I don't focus on relationships, but that's what happens when you change yourself, your life, and everybody who's around you can change and transform. And so, yeah, it's really cool. My whole mission is to change the narrative of ADHD so that people no longer feel like they have to take on that narrative, and they feel empowered to live their lives how they want to. And that diagnosis that they're getting isn't crippling them anymore. So they're free of suffering. And if they want to run a business, they feel empowered to run a business. And, so I that's for future generations to live up in a world where it's easier for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. So tell us about where people can find you, and also what kind of programs you run, how they can work with you.
Yeah, amazing. So I run group coaching programs, which I have got one running right now for ADHD entrepreneurs. And then I also do one-on-one private coaching. So completely transformational work designed to take you from feeling like you're made for more, scattered, stuck, really disorganized, to a place where you're feeling really unaligned and really excited about life and calm. You get rid of the chaos running through your mind, and the ideas start to slow down, and you have clarity on what you can take action on. So yeah, I'm super passionate about my clients and getting them results. So yeah, people can find me over on my Instagram, which is AnnMarie.Espina. And my website will be launching soon. So that will be on there as well. And I'm on Clubhouse too. I love Clubhouse. Again, AnnMarie.Espina.
Great. And I'm going to link everything in the show notes as well. So that's awesome. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
I'm just so grateful that you have had me on, and I appreciate so much of your energy and the love that you have to give to the world. So I am just so grateful that you had me on here, and I'm so glad we are connected to help, raise the vibration of the planet and make people happier and do our part. So thank you so much.
Thank you, AnnMarie. Like, your energy always attracted me to you. So I'm so glad to have you as a guest here. And so fun, so fun.
Amazing. Yeah, it's been tons of fun, Padma. I love your energy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I have a request for you. If you found value, chances are that your friends and family will too. So if you can leave a positive review on iTunes, it will help reach so many more people. And if you have any topics or questions you would like me to feature, please send them to support@padmaali.com. And lastly, please share your takeaways and breakthroughs with me on Instagram @Padma Ali. Thank you so much for tuning in.